Metzia daf chaf aleph Amud aleph. We are learning. Okay, so Metzia, Metzios. We saw the Mishnah yesterday. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat it because we're a little bit behind. We learned some rules about Shavas Aveda. Everything will be anyhow repeated, reviewed, and revised in Metzia Hashem. So I'm jumping straight into the Gemara now. We said in the Mishnah that some items you find in the street you have to give back, some items you do not have to give back. It doesn't depend really so much on the item, but what the item represents, or the type of item. Generally speaking, if the item is something that has no siman, siman means what? A sign, an identification mark that can be that if the person tells you, I lost that baseball hat with that little spitzel over here, that is a good siman. Then you keep it, don't keep it. Then you take it in order to announce, because hopefully the person will come to you and tell you, I lost the baseball cap with a spitzel in the corner. But if you found something that is very, very standard or mass-produced, as we saw in the Mishnah, like bread from the bakery, as opposed to in the second Mishnah, then we're going to have the list of all the things you do have to give back. For example, if it's homemade bread, I can tell you how my wife's challahs look like. Yeah, maybe the other ladies do the same, but can right away identify they have their own special tzura and taste. Yummy. Yeah, and therefore those things are homemade is different. Something mass-produced, something that doesn't have anything, something that's very standard, you don't give back and you can keep it to yourself, besides many other rules that we saw. Yeah, so now let's see what the Gemara has to say about the first item of the list. Says the Gemara, we're jumping straight into the Gemara. Motzo peus mefuzorin. Yeah, the person found scattered fruit. As Rashi will tell us later on, and as I told you, it's not fruit, it's grains of wheat. Many, many times when the Gemara, when the Mishnah talks about pears, it means grains of wheat. Could be also barley or things of similar size to wheat. Yeah, cereal grains. The kama. So we said if you found pears that are scattered, you found a scattered, grains in the street. Yeah. So you don't have to give it back. The Gemara asks the question, the kama. How many? What do you mean, how many? What do you mean, how many? Let's see by the answer what the question means. Says the Gemara, Omer Bitzchak, Kav be'arba amois. Says Rav Yitzchak, if the amount of the grains lost and found is one kav is more than a kilo. Yeah, kav is like you take a fresh schal from more than kav. Kav betzim is 24 beitzim, which means 48 matchboxes, 48 zaysim. Imagine 48 small matchboxes. That's about a kilo and something. That's a kav. If you found imagine yourself like a bag of flour or more. I hope you guys talking kilos, yeah, by now. Kav be'arba amos. You found a kav and it's scattered over the area, yeah, over the space, over the surface of dalid amos. So let's say 2 meters by 2 meters. Then, if you see it scattered this amount over that distance, then you don't have to give it back. Back to the Gemara, Echidami, what are you talking about? What do you want from my life? What's the case? If you see that it's scattered in a way that seems very messy, it just fell and it's like all over the place. Afilu tuvanami, even more than kav, I won't return because there's no siman. Yeah, imagine yourself back then people, grains were much more common than today. But today would be maybe coins of money. They're also about to be extinct. Yeah, Lamaisa, if the person found something scattered in the street and there's no siman, there's no way to identify it, I don't care about the amount. Even if it's a bigger amount, then you don't have to return because there is no identification. And if they were placed there in a way that seems to be very nice and civil, hinuach, as if the person left it there on purpose and it was there to be taken later, then a filobotzir mehachi namiloi, even less than a kav, what would I do with it? That's, by the way, the rule I forgot to tell you yesterday. That's one of the 8 rules of a Shavas Aveda. Something that is derech hinuach. It's a term that Baruch mentioned before. Derech hinuach means as follows. Derech hinuach is the conflict that you have when you see a sefer in the shul belonging to someone you don't know. Yeah, a sefer in the corner of the shul did the sefer with a name or something. It's there for 3-4 days. Did you lose it here? And he lives in Ranana, or did he leave it here because that's where he wants it to be? And if I'll take it to my house in order to announce it, he'll just be upset with me for taking away the sefer. Derech chinuch means it's placed. It's one of the rules when you do not have to take it and announce because the person just left it there in order to keep it there. So if I see those grains in the street scattered all over, I'm not going to give them back because the person lost them. The person didn't place them in a messy way, and there is no siman, and therefore I assume, as we'll discuss later, that the person was meyaesh. Yiush is the name of the word. The person is not going to actually claim it back because he gave up on it, because he knows that there's no way for him to retrieve it. I don't have to give it back. And if it's derech chinuach, if it's placed in a way that seems to be purposefully placed, positioned that way, I don't have to return either. I'll just leave it there. But why does the ratio of one kav over daled amis, why does that make a difference whatsoever to returning or not returning? Why is that the name of the game? And that's a question on Rav Yitzchak. Amar Vukva Barchama, says Vukva Barchama, something that today I think would apply even more than the days of the Gemara. Says Vukva Barchama, the Machnashta de Beidari Askinan. What is that? Machnashta de Beidari basically is, as you know, when you prepare, when you go through the process of making bread, right? There are 11 different things you have to do. It's the beginning of Hilchas Shabbos. Machnashta de Beidari is basically the stage between the threshing and after the threshing. Those wheats, those kernels of wheat, were taken from the one station of the production, of the development, which is the threshing, which is, stepping all over them and the basically separating it from the stalk. And from that place, they're taken to another place, to a different place. Machnashta de Beidari, the person carried with him all the sheaves, all the stalks with him, and those fell, what's their names? Those kaf bedaled amis fell, and he forgot it behind him. So what does that have to do with anything? That person, listen to this, deliberately, once realized that he left them behind, it's not the regular case of at some point he realized, and I can't go back because I can't find it. He could go back. He could choose to go back. He knows where they are, but it's not worth it for him. Not worth it for him. So if it's, as the Gemara is going to explain, now the Gemara is going to explain the number. Think professor in Hadassah in Tarim, he takes, how much does it take for consultation? Well, the 1,200 you pay is only a fraction of the price because you get it for cheap. You get 4,000 or 5,000 shekels for an hour consultation. Okay, good for him. And he lost. He didn't find. He lost 10 shekels in the street. If it's one coin of 10 shekels on his way to work, why won't he pick it up? But for that professor, makes 4,000 shekels an hour. For him, if the 10 shekels are scattered all over, and he's rushing to work, of course he's not going to go back for the 10 shekels because he's making a little bit more. The Machnashta de Beidari is a case of that it's not worth for the person to go back and be toreach and go to the exertion and work hard in order to collect the grains. Now numbers and distance do make a difference. The Gemara continues to explain. Kav be'arba amois, if it's the amount of kav, the weight or volume, whatever, of kav within the distance of daled amis, the nafish tirchayu, it's a lot of work, to work and start collecting, like some old street cleaner, to start collecting over 2 meters, and gain at the end of the day how much? Only one kav, that's not worth it. It's just not worth it for me. So the person is, interestingly, deliberately miyash. Loitorach inish. The person doesn't work that hard to get that little. He does not, what's hadar? Hadar, he doesn't go back and take them. He doesn't take it on purpose. He knows it's there, but he's at the next station. He has to deal with the 5 tons of wheat that he has, not with a little kav. And therefore the person deliberately is mafkir. He's mafkir because it's not worth it for him. So if I came to that area of Machnashta de Beidari, when I know there was a continuation of the process of the production line, and that's a distance, and that's the area, and that's the amount, I can assume, says the Mishnah, that the person is not interested in coming back because it's simply not worth it for him. So it's more of a hefker rather than yiush. You get the difference? Usually Aveda means the person doesn't know, as we're going to elaborate later on, the person doesn't know that he lost at some point. He lost, right? And then he figures it out, he'll be miyash. Once he knows that, oh, where's my box of tissues? I'll be miyash. This box of tissues is no simon. I can go ahead behind him and take the box of tissues at some point. We'll see later in machlokes. Over here, that's not the case. The person deliberately says, oh, I forgot. Akapure. I'm not going back to just start collecting, over Daled Amis to start collecting and then get what? One kav. That amount of work for that amount of result ain't worth it for me. Even if he's the biggest miser in the world, most probably it's not worth it because he's making more money later on. I don't know if you realize what I'm telling you here. I'm explaining why the Gemara Dafka talks about machnashta de beidari. If it's not machnashta de beidari, if it happens in the middle of the merkaz mischarit in Rama Aleph, then maybe that may be different, right? Because I'm not in the middle of work process. Here is working, making more money later on. Although I think, and I didn't say halacha l'maaseh yet, this would definitely, I think, apply begadol, generally speaking, today also, but we wouldn't know how to identify it. In other words, if you live at the very end of Dolev Shimshon, and you don't have a car, and you went shopping in the Merkaz Mischari, right? And you forgot there one what we Israelis call a yogurt, yeah. So that yogurt you forgot there, it's worth, I don't know, 3 shekels. You're gonna go schlep by the bus back and forth, pay with the Rav Kav, go up the hill, down the hill for the one yogurt of 3 shekels. Some of us may, some of us may not. I'm saying money's not everything. It's not worth it for you always. Here it's a different case. Here is making more money later on with the next stage of the production. Then for sure it's not worth it for him to go back for starting collecting over Daled Amis here and there frantically in order to get only one cup. That 1 second, botzir mehochi. However, less than that, meaning what? Less distance. If my 1 kav of wheat was scattered over how much? Let's say 3.5 ames. Tarach vehoda. For that, it is worth it for him to work less, to work and collect over shorter distance in order to get the same amount of kav. Chazal made that cutoff point. Osi v'shoki lehu, and the person at that point would go back and want it and want to retrieve it. Loy mafkir lehu. And he wouldn't actually be mafkirit. That's the name of the game. And on top of that, we're going to have all kinds of questions. So the ratio is 1 kav. That's what I lost and will regain over the distance to collect over the distance of Daled Amis. That is the cutoff point. And from that point onwards, we say it's not worth for the person to collect. Now we're going to talk about ratios and numbers, but in a way that even I can understand. Yeah. Questions? There's a queue. Sorry. Yeah. Bye, Rabbi Yirmiyah, and I'm listening to you. Yes. Remember it now. Weiter. Says the Gemara. Now by Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Yirmiyah was? He was an Amor from Eretz Yisrael. Many times the questions of Rabbi Yirmiyah were very yekish. He always wanted to know things to do with numbers, and he was always very exact. I don't think I'm a gilgul of him, yeah? In any event, Rabbi Yirmiyah now is asking the following question. Chatzi kav b'shtei amos mahu. What would be if you lost half a kav in 2 amos? So everybody is going to say, of course, it's the same ratio. 1 kav over Daled Amis is exactly the same as half a kav over 2 amos. The ratio is absolutely perfect. Not so simple, says Rabbi Yirmiyah. It's a question. Why is it a question? Kav ba'al ba'amos, maybe yes, maybe no. Listen to this carefully. Kav ba'al ba'amos, why is it the 1 kav in Arba Amos time emai mishum denofish tirchayu? 1 kav over Daled Amis is tircha. To collect over Daled Amis l'mais is tircha. Chatzi kav b'shtei amos, half a kav in 2 amos, kema deloy nofish tirchayu. L'mais it's less tircha. It's true that you're also gaining less. Maybe that's a little bit more like you, Ellen. L'mais it's less work, but from the other direction. Loy nofish tirchayu. L'mais not working as hard. To collect anything, if you only look at the distance, at the area you're covering, it's less tircha because it's only 2 amos. So maybe loy mafkir lehu. Maybe then you're not mafkir. If you look at the distance, it's less of a distance. Maybe to quickly get into 2 amos, yalla, let's get through these 2 amos. I'm gaining less. Loch patli. I'm working less. Oh, oy dilma, or maybe mishum deloy chashivi. Maybe the kav bedaled amos is what? Because kav is an amount that's not important for me. A kav is an amount that is really not worth it for me, unless it's kav in 3 amos, Ellen, and that's where Chavrus and I had a discussion. I'm inserting my own words. Kav is just not an important amount. Kav is a small amount in the industrial world of the field of the wheat, yeah? Now that kav is just not important unless, parentheses, kav in 3 amos, wow, that's a bargain. To get such a small thing for no work, that's kedai. But the chatzi kav, continues the Gemara, chatzi kav b'shtei amos, kema deloy chshivi, mafkelu, half a kav, he's also not important, it's even less important. In other words, which one do you follow more, the distance or the amount? If you go mitzad the distance, we'll say what? Just like dalad amos is a tircha, but 2 amos is not a tircha. I will collect it, and it's not hefker. I will go back for it, even though it's less money, less wheat. Or maybe the other side stresses more what? The amount. The amount of half a kav. You're crazy to go back for half a kav? Definitely not. Even if it's the easiest job in the world of only 2 amos and not 4, still such kleine geld. Come on, who cares about that at all? In other words, ratio is not playing necessarily a game over here. Yeah. In other words, it could be the same ratio, but we still don't ignore the numbers. Numbers are also important, not only ratio and relativity. Not everything is relative as opposed to a current Western way of thinking. Yeah. Lamaisa, maybe it's the numbers. So Mimela, 2 amos is less of a distance, I'll go for it. Such an easy job. Or maybe no. Half a kav, I won't go for that. You think I'm some miser, some homeless guy? No. These are the 2 tzaddim possibly. So we don't know if he would or wouldn't go back for half of the ratio. No questions till the wide lines. Thank you. Kabayim b'shmoine amos. Kabayim means double kav. You have 2 kabim in 8 amos. Okay, that's the same ratio, but now we're going the other way. Now we're going for the bigger numbers exponentially. Now, what would be the din over there? Kav dal ba'amos time emai. Why is it that kav in dalad amos? This is always a standard number. That's the middle of the road in the scale, which you don't go back for that, right? Kav dalad amos, the person is mafkir for sure. Why is that? Dalad amos, you think I'm nuts to start sweeping your in a whole area of dalad amos? Well, it can make much more money later. You're out of your mind. Because you can kabayim b'shmone amos to start working over 8 amos. You think I'm a street cleaner? 8 amos to start covering? Whoa! It's even more work. It's more money. So what if it's more money? Money is not everything. I'm working that hard. I'm not going to work that hard to gain almost anything. Again, unless you may have 3 kavim. But for that ratio, yeah, you don't get, it's not worth it for that to get the same amount of money for more work. Avadanot, oidilma, or maybe mishum deloy chashivi. Maybe again the idea is 1 kav. That's kleine geld. Yes, please. 1 kav to go and do dalad amos? No. Yeah, maybe kav with 3 amos is a real bargain. But kav in the regular ratio that we have, that's not an important amount to go back to. The kabayim, I lost 2 kabim over there in the previous station. Kabayim or choshuv, 2 kabim, that's a choshuv amount. The shmoine amos, kabayim in 8 amos, given the chshivi, loy mafker lehu. Because it's important, he doesn't do the hefker in them. Because it's more important, in other words, again, the ratio does make a difference as long as we don't break it, that's for sure. In other words, 1 kav in 3 amos, that's a real bargain. That's for sure, right? 1 kav in or let's say 1.5 kavim, let's say in 5 amos, that's for sure also not kedai. The question is, if it's the same ratio, we still have a question: is ratio everything, or do we look focusing only on one side of the equation? If we only look at the amount, and then what? And then 2 kabim for sure I'll collect, yeah, even though it's the same ratio, and half I won't. Or do we always look at the distance alone, focusing only on the distance, say, dalad amos is hard work. More than dalad amos, as long as we're in the same ratio? More than dalad? Of course not. I'm a black slave. Yeah, mashenka and less than dalad amos, for sure I'll go back and do it. That's a question. Is ratio the name of the game? Or do we focus within the ratio on the number alone, on the amount alone, and the distance alone, and that would make a difference and you can hear it again later on today. Somebody told me a true thing. Rav Chaish once said that I'll give you an example from the Goyshe Welt. There's a country in Spain once. They did a demonstration. There were 1 million people in demonstrations. So in Israel, 1 million is a lot. In Spain, there are 40 million people. The ratio 1 out of 40 is almost batal b'shishim. But then somebody was saying, listen, when 1 million people want something, regardless of the relativity of how many people in the country, you have to listen to them. 1 million is a big number, even if you have 350 million. Be'etzem it's choshuv. Some numbers are big. You don't always look at be smart and look at the relativity and how much it is. So this is also main that idea. That's generally speaking. You've been very patient and nice, so I'll listen to you. Yes. Still lost? Yes. Yeah, I'm listening. No. Yeah. Why? You want to say something? Okay. If it comes back to you, I'll be more than happy to hear you. Okay. Weiter. Okay. Kav sumsamin, either sumsamin or shumshamin, whatever you want to call it. It's called sesame in English. The last narrow line. Kav sumsamin be'arba amois mahu. Now, sumsamin, sesame seeds, if you noticed, are much smaller than grains of wheat. They're smaller, and it's just much more annoying to collect them. You can't just sweep them elegantly. Some things you sweep and it gets stuck. It's harder to take. So now, what would be if it's the same ratio, but different kind of produce, different schleire? That's a question, like you were saying. Kav ba'alba is time in my a kav within the aladamis is why is it that you won't go back at it and you mafkir mishum deloi chashivi, because it's not important. What do you mean it's not important? For that amount of work, it's not worth it for me. Not worth it for me. The sumsumin came in the chashivi. I didn't tell you that. Sumsumim are worth more. Sumsumim are more expensive. It's more work, but also more gain. No gain, no pain. Yes, gain, yes, pain, yes. In other words, those sumsumim are more expensive, but it's much harder to collect them. So if you go just by the importance, by the value, by the worth, then sumsumim chshivi lo mafkir lehu. So he's not mafkir them, right? The sumsumim, no, I won't be mafkir my prized sumsumim that are worth more, and I can make more money out of them in the market at the end of the day. So even though it's the same number, same everything, but it's worth more, I'm not mafkir them. Now I'm going to ask, of course, not of course. Or Dilma, or maybe mishum de nafish terchayu, right? The idea, why is it that I don't collect daled ames of wheat within a kav within daled ames? Because it's a lot of work. But the kol shikin sumsumin came with the nafish terchayu tfei more. Sumsumim are even harder work. Mafkerlu. Again, we don't only look at the ratio. I mean, diamonds is an extreme example. Yeah, we're not diamonds here. But sumsumin are more or less also from the family of, grains, of whatever. And therefore, we're asking, the sumsumim are more value for more work. It's still not so simple. Do you only look at the value as of itself, and then, of course, I'll collect them? Or do you work at the work? You look at the work as of itself, then you won't collect them. Yeah, a cruel game. They became more extreme, the sumsumim. It's more work and more value. Yeah, so we're like, we each one is like, tugging the rope his direction. So we don't know. Kav tamri. The arba amois. Let's say tmorim. Tmorim, these are dates. You have a kav of dates. Dates were cheaper. Yeah, dates were cheaper than wheat. Yeah. Kav tamri ba'arba amois. Kav rimoini be arba amois. So we all know now, tmorim and rimoinim are much bigger and easier to collect. Dal damas is 2 meters. You tell me, of course, rimoinim, very expensive. Oh, look at beautiful sign. Hashem is showing us. Tmorim rimoinim, what we need for Rosh Hashanah. You're shopping for Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, in Uman. And what? And what daled ames of rimonim fell? 2 meters. How much is it in American? I don't know. Yeah, it's not much. Yeah. So you can't collect them. They're big. They're big. They're not such a big tircha. But, Mao, it's still a question. Kav ba'arba amois time emai. Why is it that a kav of wheat within daled ames you don't collect? Mishum deloi chashivi. It's not so important. Yeah, it's not so important. It's not so expensive. That one kav is not so expensive, not so worth it for me, not so valuable for me to start schlepping. Kav tamri ba'arba amois, kav rimoni ba'arba amois. Tomorrow in rimonim, although today they're quite expensive, now became deloi chashivi. As opposed to sumsumim, they're not more expensive than wheat. Those big fruit, especially in Bavel, although I don't know if this is Bavel in Eretz Yisrael here, tomorrow were very common in Bavel. They were all over the place. It wasn't an expensive thing to date. Yeah, Most fruit in Bovel are tmorim, says the Gemara in the Bava Basra. Mafkerlu. So again, a kav of tmorim and rimonim. I know it's not a lot of work, but lamaisa, it's just not worth it. I'm up to bigger and better things in the next my next station in the field. Kav, I just ignore kav as the number, regardless of anything else, as long as it's within daladamis. Or dilma, or maybe mishum denefisha tirchayu. Maybe buy the wheat to start collecting wheat. No, that's hard. It's a lot of work, not kedai. The kav tamri ba'al ba'amos, the kav rimoini ba'al ba'amos. But the big fruit that are easily collected in daladamis, given the lona fish tirchayu, not a lot of work because you can easily collect them. In other words, those things are, we never spoke about that. The ratio of 1/4 was only talking about, we related to smaller things. Such things that are so easy, maybe we never spoke about that. Maybe I would collect them if over that amount, over that distance. We come to a dead end, and the rest of the story, I owe you halacha, blineder. Today I'll try and look in halacha and see what happens the next time you see in the Merkaz Mischari a kav of rimonim for Rosh Hashanah Bar Bamis. The rimonim are all it's based in, big problem. Okay, Itmar, okay, we'll continue. Itmar, can you just flip to the next stage and then I'll listen to the representative of the peanut gallery. Itmar, you Shalom Idas. Yeah, and now I'm listening to you. Itmar is a machlokes amaroim, always says Mechavusa. Yiush Shalom Midas. Classical sugya. What does yiush Shalom Midas mean? Let's read Rashi inside because it's so classical. Says Rashi, Dovel shistoma yiush. Let's say somebody lost, it dropped, something fell off his pocket, something which is stoma yiush, which means it's something that has no siman. Yeah, let's say a 20 shekel bill fell off someone's pocket, okay? And there is no siman. It doesn't have any interesting red ribbon. And l'ksheyeda shenofal mimenu. When the person will know that it fell from him, either he will be miyash or we assume he'll be miyash. Yeah, it's assumed to be a miyash thing. Ukshemetzoi. However, let's say I'm the finder. I found the 20 shekels in the street. Adain lo yodu abalim shenofal mehen. I'm sorry, but I do repeat my case from yesterday, whether you liked it or not. Basically, I am a very big yachne, and I'm not really, but let's say if I would have looked from my house in Lachish with a binocular looking at people in Park alone, which I don't yet, unless I know him because they make too much noise at night, and then what? So then I see a guy walking, I see him losing the 20 shekel, falling off his pocket with the tissue. He is unaware of it. I know that once he will be aware of it, at the end of Park alone, bottom in the street, then he will say, Oy, woe to me that I lost it, I'll give up hope. Of course, once he gave up hope officially, so to speak, and everybody knows it, I can go ahead, take the 20 shekels and keep it by me, of course, because it was miyash. Yiush is like hefker. Yiush is like what severs the object from the person. But what happens if I run to those 20 shekels before he was practically miyash, but I know he will be miyash. I know he will be miyash once he knows. He happens not to know yet. He's missing the information. But the etzem, this object, is a type of object. Once you know about it, you are normally miyash if you're a normal person. Can I already take it now? Can we assume that the yiush kilo kicked in now? Yes or no? Well, machlokes. Abayey Omar lo have yiush. Abayey says it's not yiush. I'm going to explain why. Abayey says it's not called yiush unless you know or can highly assume that enough time passed. I'm medayek every word I'm saying. Either you know or you know enough time passed for the person to actually probably know about it, then you will be able to take it. But before he was practically verbally really miyash, if I run like a sneaky guy right after him, before he was miyash, even though I know he will be, once he's out of sight, I can keep it. I cannot keep it to myself. Says Abayey, lo haviyush. I cannot keep it. I should take it and return it to him. Rava Omar haviyush. Rava says it is yush. Rava says, Rava 2022, the future is now. Says Rava, it's already yush now. If the type of object, the way Mechavrusa explained, if the type of object is the kind of object that be'etzem is a ushable object, he happens not to know about it, we don't care that he doesn't know. That kind of object is an object where yush already applies, even though he didn't yet press the yush button, he didn't yet realize and he didn't say, woe to me that are lost. So again, according to Abayey, it's not yiush until it really happens. According to Rava, already now it's yiush, even before the real yiush happened, but it's a type of object that yiush applies to. Already now the yiush applies. Shall I do the spoiler? Shall I spoil it for you? Yes. Yeah. A week before Rosh Hashanah, such terrible behavior. Don't believe he calls himself a rabbi. Yeah, Monday before Rosh Hashanah. Who's right? Abayey Rava, always. No? Abayey and Rava? What? What? I know you know. Usually Rava, 99% of the time, Rava against Abayey, halacha like Rava. There are 6 cases all over Shas in which Abayey is right. This is one of them. Ya'al kagam, yiush. Okay? It's one of the cases that Abayey is right. But don't close the Gemara yet. Says the Gemara. Yeah, we read the last page of the story. Says the Gemara. The Bava, it's going to be a long way for Abayey to win the crown. Abayey, a long way to go for Abayey to get one of his moments of glory. The Bava sheyesh b'siman, if the item has a siman in it, which means what? That even when he knows about it, he will not be meyash. Those 20 shekels are inside an envelope. It's a pink envelope with green polka dots, with letters DWB over that. Everyone agrees it's not called yiush. The af al gav de shamina de miyash lebasof. Ooh, what happens if I follow the guy, and it's a 20 shekel bill with a very clear siman. It's inside a green envelope, pink polka dots, okay, where the WD written there, and at the end it was miyash. The guy is not a Breslover. Miyash very quickly. You know, I heard him after 10 minutes saying, I'm at 20 shekels, for my daughter. Still lo have yiush. At the beginning, before he was practically miyash, and I was greedy and I chapped it right away, it's not yiush at that moment, even according to Rava. Why? Because when it came to my hands, let's say I quickly grabbed it before I knew what's happening, before I heard him yes or no miyash. But when it came to my hands, it came to my hands be'iso. That's something you have to know, important to know in Ilchas Shavas Aveda. If you pick up an Aveda and you want to take it for yourself before you know what the story is, especially if there's a siman on it, then what? You're ganev. You took it for yourself, right? Without knowing. I later on, I was saved by the bell, but then I can go to the rabbi and say, but at the end it was miyash. I don't care at the end it was miyash. When it came to your hands, he wasn't miyash, and it's not a type of item as opposed to before, which is a yiush kind of item. So when you took it, you are THIEF. That's what you are, right? Why? The lechiyoda de nofal minei lo miyash. Because normally, most people, once aware of the 20 shekels in a pink envelope, green polka dots, once they know about it, they're not miyash. Meima Omar, a person will tell himself, Simon is the big avay. I have a siman in it. Now the Gemara explains why simonim work. I have a siman, green polka dots, You have the simono. I hope the honest person will find it. Find will be honest. I'll give a siman to him. That's a very significant siman. The shakil alay, and I'll take it. Which means we don't always say yiush works retroactively. That the Gemara is now coming to exclude. There's a question in the Rishonim and Achronim, which I don't have time to go into. You know that there's a general question. I will go into it. Okay, I'm shooting myself in the leg now. Basically, you know that there's a question which we also saw in this year at least twice. What happens if you want to take meiser from wine? You have a whole barrel of wine, nice wine. Meiser wasn't yet taken, and now is the holy day of Sabbath. You know that in the holy day of Sabbath, Jews are not allowed to take meiser, to take tithe? Yes. So what do? According to some people, yesh breira. What's yesh breira? I'll say, I'm now taking meiser for the future. I'll drink. Whatever will be left at the end, the 10th, the chulei, that will be the meiser. Yeah? So retroactively, what I drank was chulin, was kosher, and the meiser stayed at the end. That's if you say yesh breira. Other tanoim say mapitom, en breira. You can't select from the future going back to the past. So every drop you drink now is potentially meiser, teruma, you chayv misa. Why isn't Abayey and Rava the same question? The Chonim ask, wait, is the Abayey and Rava just talking about future versus present, right? Abayey says, lo have yiush, in the future it'll be miyash, right? And therefore it's already now. And Rava says, so it's not yet now, says Abayey. And Rava says, the future is now. No, that's not. What's the answer? No. You see, at least here by the item which has a siman, right? Even though the person was miyash at the end very quickly. The guy is a very depressed miyash guy. He has a siman or doesn't have koch for it. The second he found it, I heard him. I'm a big yachne. I have a megaphone over here. I heard him saying, 20 meters down the road. The second he realized, he rummaged through his pocket. Oh, where's the 20 seconds of miyash? Kapare, ay, ay, ay. So I want to say retroactively, right? When I took it, before I heard it, how come everyone agrees that I do not take it? I'm not allowed to take it in Meganev because it's not a question of Yesh Breira, right? Had it been Yesh Breira, I could have taken here too. The question is the items. According to Abayey, an item that's a usual kind of item is not enough. You have to hear the person doing the yiush. Yiush is like hefker, is a kinyan. It's an action that has to take place. As long as it wasn't taken, do you want to, let's say somebody wants to sell his house. He wants to sell his house, and there's a, according to Abayey, I'm explaining, and there's a big sign in the, these houses for sale for like 10 years, right? 10 years ago, but the house is for sale, for sale, for sale. But can I jump into the house? He wants to sell his house. When he wants, he didn't sell it yet. That's what Abayey says. As long as yiush didn't take place, Abayey says yiush as a real action. I'm telling you, big lump this year, yeah? Abayey says yiush as hefker, as kin, and it's a real transaction. As long as that didn't happen, hey, honey, take your hands off right now. Don't touch the object, even if everybody. Rava says no. Rava says yiush is not a siba, it's a siman. Yiush shows this kind of item, be'etzem is a farfalta, is a gone thing. He didn't yet do the yiush lameshane. According to Rava, yiush is not an action. Yiush is a siman ladavar. 90% of humanity are miyash. So be'etzem, this object is yiush. I didn't press the button yet. Doesn't matter, says Rava. Be'etzem, this item is up to yiush. Like we've seen recently, fruit that are about to be taken off the tree are killed already off the tree. Same thing. Ayala, it's already happening. The item is be'etzem already in my hands. That's Rava. Bezuta Shaliam continues the Gemara, another case in which they don't argue. Either or, both holds yesh be'er, both hold ein be'er. No, that's not the machlokes between them, though. It's not the machlokes about Rabbi Yeshua and Breira. They can either hold either. Yes. Later, we'll have more time. No, it's not. Yesh be'er and Eber would have been also by Dava Shesh Basiman, because at the end it was miyash. Yesh be'er means whatever will happen in the future reflects on now. We don't say that not even according to Rava, because you see that if the guy in 10 minutes, in 2 minutes was miyash, I can't say retrospectively I was right. No, you're wrong. Why? Because that kind of item is not an item that's up to yiush. Rava cares about the type of item. Bidyuk. No, Stephen automatically is yours. Love it. Exactly. Continues the more we continue, the more you'll get it. And in Metzia 25, we can ask lots of questions, and Zoom is giving me a hard time. Bezuto Shaliam. Oh, the first time in my life that I learned about ebb and flow, yeah, about the tide, yeah. Bezuto Shaliam was very strange for us, all Israelis in Kita Dalit. Zuto Shaliam. What happens if a person went to the beach in, Canada or Denmark, yeah, where else? Yeah, there's big tides, So, Bezuto Shaliam, you left something on the beach in the time of ebb, right? And then came the flow. Through the flow takes it. The flow is the bigger one, is when the sea goes, yeah. So then you left an item in the beach, and basically the flow took it away. Okay? There was a flood of a river. What do you want from your life? I'm teaching you geography. What happens if a person lost an item in a way that nobody with his right mind would ever find it again? He left it on the beach, and basically the waves took it away. It drifted away to the other side of the ocean. Yeah, from England to America. Yeah, it probably is going to end up in Coney Island. Yeah. So then, like with all the immigrants, and then what? And then if I'm by the beach in Bournemouth, I'm a yiush. Every normal person would say, right? Gone. It's gone with the sea. Gone. They're finished. Or with the flood of the river. In such a case, Afal Gav the East Bay Siman. Let's say the item has a siman. Oh, I have a rubber ducky. The rubber ducky is very, very particular kind of rubber duck, and it's now drifting slowly from Bournemouth to New York. Then what? Would a normal person really think he'll have it back? I'm sure New Yorkers are very honest people, but very, very unlikely they'll ever see the duck ever again, even though there's a siman in it and it says in the TWD. Rahman Shari'ah, the Torah allows you to take it. if I'm in the beach in New York and I see something coming from nowhere, or I'm in the bottom of the river and the item came flowing from the top of the river, the Torah allows it to the bein l'meimer l'kamon. In this case, also, both Abayey and Rava would agree that, of course, you can take the item even if you don't know he was meyash. Why? You can say two reasons. First of all, it says in the Torah, "Asher toivad mimenu." These are very basic things which you have to know for the entire parak. It says in the Torah, if you found the item of your friend, "Asher toivad mimenu," which he lost. These are extra words. Of course, if you lost it, then you lost it. This is not in a newspaper. Toivad mimenu veloy tovad mimenu mikol odom, which means if it's something that your friend lost, but other people are very likely to find it and keep it and announce it, whatever, you have to announce. But if it's something that he lost and everybody else in this situation also lost, for example, the river, anything from this town who's on the top of the river, but the mouth of the river, if the whole thing was swept away, swamped away, everybody would lose it. It's not his loss. It's a kind of loss that nobody would ever try to find again. It's a more general loss, like by the sea, by the river. It's a catastrophe that completely took it away. Such an item, nobody has to return or even think be a tzaddik if you're in New York. Yeah, you see it says DWD on the rubber ducky that comes to you from the ocean. You don't have to be a tzaddik, but chatchila at least, and try and find out who is the guy from England or Holland or Spain who lost it. It's too far-fetched and the Torah doesn't require it. The other reason I'll tell you later. Keep ligi. Oh, mazel tov. When do Abayey and Rava argue? Like I told you before, the davar she'ein boy siman. Davar she'ein boy siman. It's a regular item. It's not some national catastrophe. He lost it. He lost it and could have found it had there been a siman. Yeah, it's not some general catastrophe. This guy happens not to have a siman in his 20 shekel note. So what? Abayey Omar lo have yiush. Abayey says it's not a yiush. He didn't know that it fell from him. So real yiush never kicked in. If you look at yiush as a real, so to speak, transaction, as the green light point, the green light wasn't given yet. Get your hands off the 20 shekel right now, right? You didn't know about it yet. No permission given yet, says Abayey. Rava Omar have a yiush. Rava says it's already yiush now. I'm not a thief if I take it before he knows. Yiush ki'il already started now. Once he knows, when he will know, the nofel meyash. Once he knows, he will be meyash, which means this item be'etzim is yiush item. Meimer Omar, he would surely tell himself, Simona leisli begavei. I don't have a siman in it. Begavei, inside of it, I don't have a siman. Mehashtu de meyash. Wow, he's meyash already from now. The Chavrusa said, not exactly subconsciously, Halacha views his das is already kicking out from now. Yeah, you don't know something, but be'etzem, this kind of item who fell, had you known about it, you would be miyash. That's all we need. The yiush is in a certain level already happened. You just happen not to yet know. Therefore, the yiush already started now. Now we're going to have a big, shouldn't say the word boxing ring, but now we're going to try and disprove Abayey, disprove Rava for many, many different cases. Before we continue, we have a siman pamgash mam. These are many, many cases we're going to see, not difficult cases. As you can see, it's not a difficult parak. All these cases, this acronym is basically, each letter represents another case in which we'll try to prove Abayey or Rava. By the way, before we continue, you do realize that most items, if not all items that are being lost, are yiush midas at some point. If a person lost something, they obviously didn't know that very second, right? Because that's not called losing, right? What's losing? Getting rid of something unaware that you got rid of it, right? That's all word of loss. He didn't deliberately do hefker. So that brings the following question from the very, very first case of our Mishnah. Toshma, come and listen to the case. Peus nefuzarin. These scattered grains of wheat that fell in a messy way, yeah? And what do we say? You can go ahead and take them. Take them, no sim, and go and take them. Like any normal item, he didn't know that it fell. Meaning, how does the rabbi of the Mishnah tell the one asking the question, yeah, go take it? How do you know? Maybe the person, the one who lost the grains of wheat, maybe doesn't know that he lost them yet. And according to you, Abayey, attacking Abayey, Well, according to you, Abayey, I can only take a lost item when I know that the person was meyash. How do you know? You're a prophet? You have binoculars? How do you know that he really gave up hope when you chap it and grab it like a zoy? Answers the Gemara, that obviously not a question. We saw before. Don't ask me from there. That's a whole different story. Over there, we talk about a person who what? Who deliberately decided to leave it there. Could be that 1 second after it fell, literally a second after it fell, it went like, it wasn't a loss. I would call it in modern language, accident. It accidentally fell off his hands. Maybe that's what you meant, Jeff Leckett, yeah? It accidentally fell off his hands. If he's a nice guy, he says, "Oh, that's Ratzon Hashem." If he's not a nice guy, he says, "Shucks." If he's worse, can say even worse words. But then he says, "Kapore, I'm not going back to take it." But it doesn't mean it happened after a long time. He's deliberately mafkir. He's deliberately mafkir because it's not worth it for him. Even if it happened 1 second later, it's a hefker. That's very different to all other cases. Therefore, Abayey is saved. Abayey says, "No, don't attack me from there because that's not yiush midas. It's midas. He knows that it's there and he just doesn't care enough to take it back. It's not financially worth it for him." Toshma. Now we keep heaping up the cases from the Mishnah. That's going to be a good chazor for the Mishnah. Yeah, I find scattered coins in the Merkaz Mischari, and the scatter load over. I'll say, yeah, I'll take it. Says the Mishnah, go ahead, take them all. Yeah. Why? According to Abayey, how come? Excuse me, hands off. He doesn't know that the money fell from him, or maybe he does, but maybe not. You said maybe he's stealing, right, parrots, yeah? In other words, how can you grab it right away? Maybe the guy whose money fell from him, maybe he's half a minute away from here, and he doesn't yet know that the money fell from him. So according to Abayey, we're still in the stage of yiush, and therefore the bypassers should not take the money. How come the Mishnah across the board says to everyone to just take it away, to take it back, to keep it? Answers the Gemara, Hosam Nami, over there, in that case, also we're going to say what Rabbi Yitzchak says. What did he say? The Oma, Rabbi Yitzchak said. Second time Rabbi Yitzchak is in the Adaf. Adam also lemashmish bekisa b'chol shor v'shor. A person is likely to feel and rummage through his pocket, not every hour, every moment. In other words, your wallet, your pocket, your pouch, wherever you have your money, is something you very frequently you look into it. Merkaz Mischari, I don't know how many times when I do Shabbos shopping do I take my credit card. I mean, I don't count. Yeah, Shabbos Kodesh. I make a prayer. Shabbos Kodesh, give the credit card. That works. In other words, but it's very often. Yeah. How often do I check my, something inside? Not so often. But how often do you check your wallet? A lot. Very, very frequently. Here too, which means, says Abayey as follows. Don't attack me from the Mishnah, please. The Mishnah says, if you found money, you can highly assume that the person already knows about it. Don't be nitpicking, because I know what you're going to ask. Maybe I found the money before the next time he looks into his pocket. I'll tell you, maybe. But that much even Abayey is not concerned about. Again, if it's an item that I lost and I can only look for once a day, yeah, excuse me for giving a not very nice example. Tefillin. Let's say a guy lost his tefillin after Shachris. When would be the last time he'll check his tefillin, which is much more important than money? Next Shachris. We're not Zilbermans. We don't wear tefillin all day long or Talmidei Agra. Oh, the whole day can go by. So tefillin, let's say they don't have siman, you can't take. Oh, anyway, even if doing that, yeah. Money, you look into your pocket every, let's say, 5 minutes. I assume when I found the money in Merkaz Mischari, that 5 minutes have passed, right? Most probably he already looked into the wallet and therefore was miyash because there is no siman. And now I can take it. Says Abayey, that much I can stretch my rule. But she'enken other items which are not so frequently visited and checked, those, says Abayey, hold it. Unless you know, or unless a long time passed, then you cannot touch the item. But don't attack me for money, because money is very frequently, so to speak, visited and checked with the person. Toshma, one more. Igule the veil. Everyone's behaving so nicely before Shoshana, not asking any questions. No, I'll hear the questions when the shiur is over. Igulet vela. This is chazar for the Mishnah. Those who were not here for the Mishnah. Igulet vela are those round discs made out of many dried figs stuck together, which was a rather standard kind of food. The kikar shel nachton, bread from the bakery, they all look the same. Areilu shaloi, yeah, you find them in the street, no bad conscience, mister, says the Mishnah. Take it, enjoy the figs, enjoy the bread, and have a nice meal. Just check it from bugs. Amai, why? We're attacking Abayey. How do you know? He maybe, or most probably, I don't know, maybe the one who lost, maybe he doesn't know that he lost it yet. The bread and the gulish of the vela. Why are you jumping on the schar straight away? Lefi Rava, it's very good because Lefi Rava they have no siman, right? Rava is celebrating now. You see, an item which has no siman right away I can take because it's a din in the item, not in the gavra. But according to Abayey, hey, hands off. Maybe he doesn't yet know that it fell from him. And says the Gemara, Hosam Nami over there, similar to money, but in a different way, similar. Agav the yakiri, machlokes is what it means. Yakiri usually means heavy. Because the bread and the figs are not very heavy, but you feel the weight. You go with your backpack with a whole big piece of bread or a whole thing of figs, you feel the weight loss. You feel the weight is not there anymore. Main dayoda behu. You realize it pretty quickly. Again, of course, when the bread fell from him, or he left it somewhere when he made his sandwich, or the fig, of course he didn't realize it that second. Otherwise, he'd put it back in the backpack. But what happens with the bread on the fig, because it's food that's pretty heavy or noticeable to the one carrying them, pretty quickly you'll feel, oh, I feel a bit, but the bag feels lighter than it felt. Ever happened to you? It happened to me. You know, you left the shop with 3 bags heavy. Ooh, I felt heavier before. Oh, must be something. Oh, it's a big bottle of whiskey or wine, which I left in the previous store. That's what happens when you carry heavy stuff. Says Abayey, of course it's not every second. Otherwise, we can close the Gemara. Metzios. But because very frequently the person realizes what's going on with the heavy stuff, Mimela, we can highly assume that already he knows about it when I found it. And therefore, I assume it's yiush midas. I assume that there was knowledge, because he felt the lightness. He was automatically miyash because that bread has no siman, and that tenuva bag of milk has absolutely no siman. And Mimela says Abayey, even I would agree to my colleague Rava, you can take it because it's called yiush midas. Thank you very much. Questions or comments are welcome. Thank you.